My friends, I'm really excited for today's video because it's time to dive into the Patreon exclusive Discord server right now to look at how the students are doing over there, practicing all the exercises you see on this channel. If you're also working on the routines and exercises I keep sharing, this video will be really interesting for you because you will learn about some technical details and practice feedback that might have a huge impact on your progress as well. Let's get started right away. Nice, so this is a really challenging string skipping workout that I can really recommend. What's really hard with this one is keeping the wrist movement going. Picking from the wrist feels quite natural when you're just picking on one string or just playing through a scale. But as soon as you're skipping strings, you kind of feel like you have to activate your arm more because you're skipping from a lower string to a higher string or the other way around. So what might help with this workout is doing something like this, where the wrist is still resting on the bridge, of course, but instead of jumping up and down, kind of with the whole hand like this, I often try to do something like that, where the palm is still on the bridge like this, and I'm just jumping with my wrist. That often gets me more accuracy out of the movements than following the strings. If you know me, of course, you know that I do like to follow the strings when I'm playing through a scale or when I'm sweeping, so that the picking angle is always the same for each string. But if there's one quick jump, so just one note on a higher string, like with this string skipping workout, just popping the wrist in place like this has helped me with speed and consistency for sure. Nice! So this is actually one of my favorite approaches when it comes to pushing the speed with sweep picking. Going for an arpeggio both ascending and descending, choosing slow note values like eighth notes for the one direction and then faster note values like 16th notes or 16th note triplets for the other one. That way you can really focus on technique and perfect execution with the slow note values, but also push the speed further and play outside your comfort zone when you switch to the faster note values. And it already sounds really good right here because you can see that there are no big individual strokes for the strings. It's one fluidly connected sweeping movement like that. So if you feel a bit stuck with your sweeping technique at the moment, try this. Instead of doing the same arpeggio in the same way up and down, try to play it ascending with slow note values and descending with fast ones, or just flip it around. That has been one of my favorite ways of building speed while still focusing on a clean execution. Nice. Very nice. So this is taken from the new high-intensity interval training course I posted on Patreon just a couple of days ago. Makes me super happy to see you awesome people working on it already. And this first exercise, what most people would call tremolo picking, is incredibly useful for metal because there are a lot of riffs like this where you have repeated picking strokes for one note while you move through a scale or arpeggio. And those riffs only sound good if you play the correct amount of note values. So for 16th notes you want 4 strokes per note, not 5, not 3.5 or something like that. So I love to practice focus right here on playing to a metronome, staying on time and playing the right amount of notes. What can help a little bit right here is feeling the movement from the wrist a little bit more. I can see that the arm is helping out a bit. I also push from my arm a little bit when things get really fast and don't just work from my wrist anymore. But in my routines, I really like pure wrist movement as a challenge, trying to play as fast as I can, only moving my wrist. That always shows me my limits and when I have to transition into a movement that's more supported by the arm. So if you're into building speed and picking technique, I really recommend checking out the new 30-day course. Awesome job on getting on it so early. I'm really proud of you. Nice. So this is a really good way of working on legato, and my fingers definitely looked exactly the same when I started getting more into technique, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. At the end, you can see it relatively clearly. This was also my biggest problem. The pinky finger was either fully curling like this or just bending away like that. This is an annoying issue to fix because you can clearly see that you're doing it wrong, but your fingers are doing it anyways. They don't listen to you right from the start. Aside from working on legato like this, it has helped me to play chord voicings with all fingers resting on the neck like that, and then just playing one note at a time, gently pushing down one note like this instead of going from one note to the next one like that. And working on trills could also help. So going for a hammer on and pull off, hammer on, pull off really fast with just the index finger and pinky. And what I can also see in this clip is that there's strong anchoring with the index finger, I think. So the index finger seems to be pushing down pretty much all the time, which makes it hard to feel all of your other fingers as they're moving. So I would try to reduce tension. Aim for a really relaxed movement, feeling every single finger individually, not always pushing down with the index finger like that. Even when I'm just demonstrating this, the pinky finger rises already. If the grip is more loose like this, it doesn't. So that's one of the big secrets. But choosing legato workouts to fix this problem is definitely the best choice. That's what helped me the most over the long run. Nice. I like a lot of things about this video. It sounds really, really great. Speed is quite impressive. Movement looks very relaxed. And the one thing concerning the fretting hand technique that you don't really see that often is that for the descending line, where it's pinky finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, one finger at a time is used, just as I mentioned it a little bit earlier. So the index finger is not fully pressing down when the note with the pinky finger is played or with the ring finger or middle finger. You can clearly see that the fingers are lifted a little bit and it's pinky finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger. This is great for training finger independence and for synchronizing every single finger with the correct picking stroke. So anyone that's going for this exercise right here, that's my biggest recommendation. For the ascending and descending quick chromatic speed burst, use one finger at a time. That will really sync up the picking with the finger movements. Nice! Some really impressive shredding right here. It sounds great. And Chris is asking, am I doing forearm picking? That's a great question. From what I can see in this video, the wrist is very much moving. And since the palm is resting nicely on the bridge and the movement looks very, very relaxed, I don't think that there's a lot of forearm picking right here. Looks like a technique like this. So the wrist nicely relaxed and moving, even at this very fast tempo. That's why it sounds really, really good. If it would be a pure full arm or forearm movement, it would look much more like this. So this area would be completely stiff and locked up, which is what I can't really see here, because people that pick from the entire arm don't really have the palm nicely resting on the bridge like this. It's always moving up and down like that, sometimes also creating a bit of scratching noise. So I personally don't really see any forearm picking or anything like that. If you feel a slight burn right here, that might indicate that you're still using some of your arm, but when it comes to very, very fast tempos, I'm also pushing with my arm a little bit. The only thing I always want to avoid is that completely stiff and locked feeling when the wrist isn't moving at all. Nice. So there's once again a lot of really cool stuff in this video that I like a lot. Since we're talking a lot about picking movements with all of these entries, I think you can see what I like here already. Very, very relaxed motion, clearly coming from the wrist, not from the entire arm. And once again, you can see something that so many players don't do because it's really hard to train your fingers to do that. You can see the fingers working individually. So once again, the index finger is not just in this death grip state, always gripping while the other fingers are working like that. One finger at a time is used, and I think that's the reason why the hand synchronization sounds really, really good with this exercise already. And I also really like the tone in this video. I use something quite similar where you have just a little bit of distortion, so it sounds a bit crunchy, not high gain, because you can hear the string noise a little bit better compared to just practicing with a pure clean tone. The only thing that I can see right here, which is always hard to see depending on the angle of the video and how low the guitar actually is with the strap. I talked about this in a recent video. One thing I personally try to avoid is having the wrist pop out like this. I can already feel the tension right here, especially when I use my fingers. So what I'm aiming for is something like that, where the wrist is kind of straight like this, that also allows me to transition between the strings nicely in all positions across the neck. And whenever it pops out more like this, it gets tense immediately and I'm a bit afraid of injuring my fingers or my wrist. Feels kind of wrong. I'm not fully sure if it's just the angle of the video or if that's happening right here, but that might be something to look into a little bit to avoid any kind of injuries. Alright my friends, those were some really cool practice videos from the Discord server. If you want me to talk about your playing in the next video, click the link down below, become a student today, patreon.com/Bernd. Post your videos on the Discord server and I will react to your playing, giving you nothing but helpful feedback. See you in the next one. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.